Mabatho Seeiso hails from the Kingdom of Lesotho. She has a BCom honours from the University of Cape Town, also has a BCom from the University of Wales, and an MBA from the University of Hull. Mabatho joined the financial services industry in 2001. She currently serves as a professional trustee or independent investment committee member and independent chairperson on various funds. She also serves as a non-executive on various boards. Mabatho is also an entrepreneur. Mabatho, thank you so much for making the time to be with us today.
Thank you so much. We've known each other for a very long time, so it's nice to meet in this context.
Yes. I try not to interview all my friends at the same time. That's gonna be like in like a close circle, trying to like spice you guys along the way. So you are from the Kingdom of Lesotho. Do you have siblings? What were your pastimes pre-teen? I'm always interested in the pre-teen years.
That's an interesting question. Yes, I have a brother who's 4 years younger than me. I did have another sibling, but she passed in her youth as a baby, actually. But, playing the usual traditional things. One, I've always loved to read. I've always loved reading. But the usual traditional games, one we'd call Mantlwane, where you play house.
Yeah.
I think that's common.
Yeah.
Skipping rope, remember? Pebbles. So exactly. So those are the sort of things that I used to love doing when I was young. Yeah, and running around, as you know, coming back home all dusty at the end of the day.
Climbing trees.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Gosh, the life.
It is the life.
It is.
It really is.
Yeah.
I think young people today are missing out. Yeah.
But I suppose when they doing PlayStations, they think that's like fun.
They don't know what they're missing, being out in the open,
In
breathing
nature.
fresh air, the freedom that we had to run around.
Yeah. In my days, oh my God, are we starting to do that? What is a distinctive Basotho cultural practice that you treasure, and what is its significance?
For me, when you talk about Basotho culture, the thing that comes to mind that I value the most is the values that I've been taught in my culture. So there is a lot of emphasis on respect. And I do believe, when I look at the world today, if we ever started any relationship, whether it's at a country level or individual level, with respect for each other, because respect for each other means even the things that are different about you, I'll respect, and their boundaries, that there'd be peace. So I love that about my culture. I've also been taught humility. Sometimes it can be, what's the word I'm looking for?
Yes.
Humility. But humility says, I see the other person and there are no hierarchies in our relationships, So I see you. In some ways, for me, it's almost the same as namaste. Yeah. So I think that's important to me. But also the culture of inclusivity. We all share that. But for me, that's what I love about my culture, is it's taught me that about the importance of the collective and always playing my role in uplifting the collective.
For the people that don't know the saying, Mutu?
I am because you are, yeah.
Just for our global audience.
Muntu kabantu.
Yeah, for our global audience that doesn't know. So you studied towards a BCom. So you have an honours from the University of Cape Town. You also have an honours from Wales.
Yeah.
And then you have a master's from University of Wales, of Hull. What was the vision? I mean, obviously, when you were selecting these things, you had a vision in mind. Are you living that vision?
I knew I wanted to end up in business. I knew I wanted to end up in entrepreneurship. But that's all I knew.
Yeah.
The beauty about my road is that it has had many pit stops, but certainly on the route to entrepreneurship. It started off in the corporate sector, first in the oil industry. I worked for Total.
I actually don't remember that part.
Yeah.
So
that's
long ago.
before we met,
Yeah.
before I moved to Cape Town. I moved to Cape Town in 2001. So it's been It's been many years. Yeah.
Let's stop there.
Yeah, we'll show our age.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've before then I did work in the public sector in Lesotho, and in trade and industry. So I mean, for me, it's been a journey to try and define what my path is. Have I reached my destination? No. But am I on my path from an entrepreneurship point of view? Yes, it's been exciting. I've taken off roads in that path, but I always believe that every aspect of that continues to solidify your story going forward.
Yeah. So along your pit stop, you also created the Bridge,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
was a women's empowerment center.
Yeah.
And you focused a lot on personal mastery.
I did, yeah.
So
yeah.
what is personal mastery and what attracted you to focus on it?
Yeah. Thanks for that question. As a corporate person and as a woman at the time, when I joined the financial services industry in 2001, there were not a lot of black women in asset management. It was a tough alpha male environment that challenged who I thought I was. Before that industry, I used to think I was a bee's bee. I was very good at work, always getting accolades. And then I move into an environment where I am nothing really. I start from scratch because my validation came from how good I was at work. And when that was gone, I realized I needed something to anchor myself in. The challenges of that industry were a blessing. As they always say, some of our greatest teachers are the challenges that we come across. And I understood that the discrimination that sometimes one faced as a woman from a gender perspective meant that I needed to respond in a different way because I couldn't continue to be a victim. That's a disempowered place to come from. So for me, it wasn't really around about how others treated me. It was how I responded to how others treated me. And that for me was a place of power. And I realized that there's a lot of work for women to do when we come into these environments that challenge who we are, to come from a place of power and empowerment.
Yeah.
And that it required self-awareness, understand the things that created you, your wounds that sometimes play themselves out without you realizing it, and having control so that you can define how things go for you, as opposed to circumstances and those around you defining your path and who you are.
Yesterday, we were in our Busara mentoring journey session. We had Dr. Ngaumutse, which just written about bullying.
Okay.
So,
There is, yeah. It's more than it's fitting into spaces that were not naturally created for us, and being able to now chart and create that space for yourself. It doesn't come easily, You have to break down doors. You have to come from a place of strength. You have to believe that you deserve it, because a lot of the time people want to come and fit into something that doesn't look like you or doesn't serve you, and that weakens you.
Maybe you should still run those sessions.
Yeah,
don't you think?
I've been told that. I've been told that.
And your difficult experiences also impacted you because you ended up suffering from chronic fatigue syndrome. What is it and how did it impact your life?
Yeah, that was a tough one. Exactly because my validation came from work. It was more than that. It's more complex than that. It's the demands that we get when we're in these organizations that eventually, yes, I ended up getting chronic fatigue syndrome. I'm happy to report that I'm a lot better. It's not a manageable thing. At some point, it was a big issue in my life, but now it's something that I manage, like somebody manages diabetes. So it's not such a major thing, but it is really when your system breaks down through stress that has been prolonged for a long time, and eventually something breaks and it affects your immune system. It affects your memory. It affects your endocrine system. So essentially, the system doesn't work as well as it used to. And unfortunately, for some people, they don't recover, and it can be really, really bad. So that they're not able to work. But it really was those experiences. And actually, because of those experiences, that's when I started the dialogue sessions for women in financial services.
Okay.
And realized that we are all dealing with something. I had hoped that so many years down the line, I joined in 2001, it's now 2024, that things have changed. I'm still getting women telling me about the break in the health. You wouldn't see it, because they're success
'Cause they
on the
don't
face
present
of it.
it, yeah.
On the face of it, these amazing, successful women, but behind the scene, people are telling me I'm on this antidepressant. I've just been hospitalized, and I'm thinking, surely we can do things differently. Um, One, as corporations, that we are not demanding of people their health or families
Yeah.
for productivity. So there's got to be reflection on that side. But at an individual level, because that's where we have most power over ourselves, there's got to be reflection around how do I navigate this environment, and how do I create a support structure that keeps me somewhere I can go and get wisdom, somewhere I can talk about the nonsense that I'm facing today or whatever,
Yeah.
and somewhere where I can get the support that strengthens me
Yeah.
to be in the spaces that require a lot from us.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you keep it in, you become diseased.
That's exactly what happens. You become diseased. The one thing that I learned from having the condition is that I was not very good at setting boundaries. And I think a lot of women need to learn to find the voice to set boundaries up front, even in the workplace. We are afraid sometimes, but I think if we have these conversations up front, and create clear boundaries between work and personal life, but between how you are treated and how you show up in the workplace and how others treat you, I think it's very important.
Yeah. And also self-care.
Absolutely.
Just
yeah.
our massage sessions
yeah,
are very important. Yeah.
I believe there's a direct relationship between your ability to care for yourself and confidence.
Yeah.
So part of the thing is believing you deserve the space to take care of yourself.
I live in taking care of myself.
Yeah,
How-
I know this.
All right. So I'm at the moment I'm fatigued, but I'm
Yeah.
still taking care of myself.
Yeah.
Do you believe you know the reason why you were born? And if you do, how did you arrive at that knowledge and understanding?
So is it? I know I was born to take humanity forward in a way that works for everyone. How that shows up in different ways. I believe my work with women was part of it because I think women anchor society. So if you have strong, resilient, empowered women who are authentic and show up in their authentic self, they carry society forward. So that's how it showed up then. But does it end at a certain point in time, or the core of moving society forward will always be there, but how it presents itself is different at a different phase in my life. So at the time when I'd gone through this and I was close to the issues around women, that's what I was doing. So now I'm also in the pension fund space, and I'm advocating that we allocate resources in such a way that we build economies that are inclusive so that we can create environments or societies where we don't have such hectic social economic challenges.
Well, this is great that you've come to that, Chris. One of my questions was, what is your view of the role of pension funds to facilitate the development and their contribution to the economy of a country? And do you think in South Africa, have pension funds supported the economy to grow particularly productive assets and infrastructure?
Listen, we do participate, but I think we are underinvested in the economy in South Africa. And I think we're in a privileged position that we can have a huge impact in growth, and therefore addressing issues around unemployment in this country, infrastructure that leads to economic growth, etc. We are incredibly underinvested. The economy is growing only at 1%. When you consider and compare us with European pension funds and American pension funds, and considering, by the way, that I just did a talk recently where I was talking about how the majority of South African assets are invested outside of South Africa.
Yeah.
It doesn't
The global
work.
portfolio is very large. Yeah.
It just does not work. So I think we could do more, and we need to do more.
But isn't that because we risk averse because of our perceived political instability?
Yeah, there is political instability, but even in an environment where there's political instability, there's still opportunities.
Yeah.
And for me, the big drive is to invest in the real economy. What do I mean by actual infrastructure? There are projects that will give you good returns.
Yeah.
SMEs, that there are solutions that the asset management companies have put in place that can give you the returns that you want. So it's a diversification story, but the reality is we will keep having instability if we don't address economic growth.
Yeah, it's like what comes first.
Yeah, exactly. So are you going to be part of the solution or part of the problem?
Yeah.
I think we have a responsibility to become part of the solution.
Yeah.
Why? Because the people that we represent live here. They don't live offshore.
And we live with them.
and we're all part of it, So if we don't invest here, from an economic growth perspective, it's going to keep going down. How does that help us,
I suppose it's a matter of us re-educating what is a cost, what is an investment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But listen, so we do understand risk, and we always build the thing about investing is you don't put your eggs all in one basket, right? So we are all big on diversification, but for me, I think it's important that we understand our responsibility in investing in this economy.
Besides shopping malls.
They, in historically disadvantaged areas, they still work. Shopping malls, they have. I know
they
have
a
lot
place.
of. Yeah, they have we have a lot of debates. Are they taking over SMEs in those areas? I mean, I think those are the things that you should look at.
Because there are anchor retailers.
Yeah, the anchor retailers.
There.
So the conversation that we have, some of these investments that we have, is how do you incorporate SMEs in those centers as well? But they bring services that normally sit far away, and people then have to travel long distances to access services. And you can incorporate entrepreneurship into those centers. Yeah,
it's a mindset change, isn't it? What is your Achilles heel, and how do you manage it so that it doesn't derail your goals?
I'm an overthinker. Overthink things, and then it can lead to analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
So, I'm beginning to understand maybe there is value in having support around me. That it's not just about me. So everything I've done very often is I've been a loner in doing it. It does help to have partnerships, that move you along.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
And a second brain, just like when you're working on things, to have a different brain to bounce off things.
Yeah. And delegation, I think those things are important.
Delegation when they do the work. Yeah. Doesn't help when they don't do the work. But anyway. What are the two wisdoms that you can share with professional women and men on how to lead an effective life and handle stress?
The one thing that I've decided I don't want to compromise on is showing up as who I am, So I think authenticity, if you are in an environment where you're constantly having to downplay who you are, people don't understand that at a subconscious level that impacts you and weakens you and can lead to a lot of stress. If I'm in an environment, so there was a time when I worked in two different environments, and I think this gives a perfect example of what you're talking about. In the one environment, I didn't believe I could bring my personality to work. It felt like I had to leave the personality outside and come in as a number.
Oh, gosh.
That didn't work for me. And sometimes, and I'm dramatic, what can I say? I'd go outside. I'd go outside. And sit out in the sun just so that I could feel connected to nature, because I felt like my soul had died, Whereas in another environment where it allowed me to be creative, they didn't care. You could walk around without shoes, so long as you're productive. So
reminds me of advertising days.
Yeah. So for me, I think in time you need to be in environments that align with you.
Yeah.
For me, that's very important. Be in environments that align to you. Because sometimes we think corporates are wrong, but maybe there simply isn't alignment between you. Yeah. Absolutely. And then you have to teach people how to treat you, including those boundaries that I spoke about. but show up as who you are. In all of us, there is a story that has put us together. We bring something to this world that no one else does. We really do, in the way that the story is crafted around us. You need to understand what those gems are for yourself and how you use them to your advantage in the workplace. One of the things that, for me, sometimes fitting in is a problem, and then I feel, I don't fit in. But the one compliment of that is that I see things differently and I connect the dots differently. And I've always been rewarded for that in the workplace because I see solutions that other people don't see. So what are those gems for you from your story and your character and your uniqueness?
Yeah,
I
and
think
to
it's
honor
important.
the life you
and to
have.
honor that, yeah.
So the one passion you obviously have is pension funds.
Absolutely.
You're
It's a privileged position to be in.
You're a trustee expert with deep knowledge and a track record. Where did that passion come from, really?
So, when I started my entrepreneurial journey, as I say, I've done so many different things. I left the corporate and I started management consulting. I was teaching on innovation, and then I had a little foot in to say, how do I use what I've learned in financial services? Because remember, I was in asset management in financial services. How do I use it? And an opportunity presented itself to play a role as a fiduciary on the pension funds. Initially, I engaged with it. Just, I don't know. The importance of what I did came to me years after I'd been doing this job as a pension fund. What do I mean by that? The responsibility, the power, what impact I can make to other people. When you engage with it from that point of view, and then sit in the shoes of your members, it's a different engagement than engaging at it from just a logical point of view and tick
just
box.
Numbers
and tick box, the governance says this. But for me, it's about what is the impact I'm having in the life of the member. When somebody dies, do we take too long to pay the beneficiaries of this member? Because remember, when your parents die, are you not going to be eaten tomorrow? So engaging with it from a place where you really appreciate what your member is going through, what is important.
The humanity of it.
Exactly. Yeah. Boat too we were speaking about. Yeah.
As a trustee, what keeps you awake at night?
Am I doing the right thing for members? Will the markets return what they need to return in order for me to meet my responsibilities and my promise to members? Am I invested properly? Or will I wake up and something has blown up? Like Steinhoff blew up. Steinhoff blew up and it wiped out billions from people's pension funds.
And if you're retiring that time, it's...
Yeah, exactly, But as I say, we try and mitigate that with making sure you have a properly diversified portfolio. But the question is always, as trustees, have you applied your minds? So that's always a question in my mind. Have I applied my mind? That's the first. Secondly, it's managing the risks around this. Where there's a lot of money, sometimes it attracts, people who may not be aligned in terms of what they say. I'll never forget, there was one of my service providers on a fund who for a year had been telling us they were doing something as an administrator, and it wasn't true. It left a lot of risks. So are we managing those risks properly?
And how do you prove that somebody's doing something without going to check yourself?
Eventually, I think, after we found out, I would literally have to go to the office with some colleagues to see if they're doing what them. But it wouldn't have occurred to me that somebody with the right license is doing something wrong, So that trust, how do you go beyond that to make sure that you're managing risk properly in a fund?
I think it's the risk for even board of directors.
It's risky being a trustee, but incredibly risky, even with your best intention.
Yeah. Because you kind of, at some point, have to trust the information you're getting.
Yeah. But I when I teach other trustees, I say, every now and then do an audit on the things that you assume are being done. Just do an audit.
And hope the auditor is doing...
Yeah.
I mean,
the auditor didn't even pick up this. I'm like,
this is what I'm saying.
What is your job here?
So it just moves the goalpost every time. Who was going to do the audit?
But you've got to find, and I think that's the beauty about experience is understanding where to look, the sort of question to ask, where to cross-reference, and that is the beauty of experience.
The deep knowledge over time.
Yeah.
What is the one decision you wish you had never made in life, and why?
You know, that two sides to that question. One is, I don't think everything that was supposed to show up in your life has shown up to make you who you are. So from that point of view, I don't think anything would have changed. But if I do it over again, I would have been a better advocate for myself when I said in the corporate world, I'm overstretched and understaffed. I would have done a better job with more firmness, perhaps in negotiating, because that's what then led to a breakdown in health, So yeah, in hindsight, but if I hadn't gone what I would have gone through, I wouldn't be saying what I'm saying
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's difficult because they say, well, there are no resources. That's it. That's it. Just
And so then the negotiation should be, okay, there are no resources, so then how do we restructure this to fit into the resources that we have? But I do think these are board conversations you should be having as somebody who facilitates a lot of board discussions.
yeah. Well, that's why I always
Yeah.
say the resources are key. I mean, you can have a strategy that's amazing, but do you have the resources to deliver?
Yeah.
And if you do not, and the resources also got to do with energy, time. People forget all
Absolutely.
those.
Yeah.
Because if people are stretched,
Yeah.
they're not going to be able to deliver.
Exactly.
No.
And are you having the right conversation to acknowledge that at board? I find it's very difficult as a board member, by the way, that to have the real conversation around how are you treating your talent.
Yeah.
From whether they're stretched or not. They think when they pay talent, that's enough.
That's it.
Yeah.
No, I think boards need to create time for strategic conversations.
Around
a lot.
talent. Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of conversation is around the operations.
Yeah.
And what's going on, but not challenging. I must say, the one particular board I'm on, we spend a lot of time on the talent. And I always say, I think some things are going too well, and we're asking too many things, and we're getting a lot of information, but is it the right information?
Okay.
Yeah. But the conversations are right. So we just have to sometimes trust that they are giving us the right information.
Okay.
You love salsa dancing,
I just love dancing. I just love dancing.
but to
But I
go to
do-
the salsa one.
But I do. I go for salsa.
What ignited this love affair?
So it's interesting. I started engaging on a conscious level with dancing when I was in financial services. Financial services is very hardcore, left brain, numbers. You must do things a certain way. And I needed to find creative expression. And just, to engage with the soul again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I started dancing. Then I was doing hip hop. and then as I got older, I did salsa. I loved that. But it connects me with my feminine energy. All of these things are empowering. When you show up at work, that feminine energy plays a role. In terms of how you engage, in terms of empathy, all those good, solid, feminine, qualities. I think it's important to keep engaging with your feminine energy.
Because that brings the diversity to balance out
That's
the system.
What we need.
Yes. I think we were taken to one or two. Actually, there's one birthday where you actually brought an instruction where we all had to.
Absolutely. And
that was
people
fun.
laugh and fun. We've forgotten how to laugh. We've forgotten how to play. And this is the thing, that also adds to your productivity. If you can let loose and just have fun, it just, it lightens you up.
And your creativity.
Yeah.
What are two dream dinner guests, alive or dead, you would love to have over for conversation and wine?
Yeah, so I had to think about this, and I wasn't, I wasn't quite sure who, but, for the longest time, anybody who can teach me how to be a master manifester. so a Deepak Chopra, but those wisdoms, the wisdom around how you master yourself, you create the sort of power that is good for everybody else. And how to show up in the world as a strong, authentic human being who builds this world. I really would like to be part of that. I also want to show up as, I believe that there's need for more kindness in this world, but if I can really, I'm on a path, and I think I've done good job, but I still think if I were to learn from who I consider to be a master, that would be great. So you're Deepak Chopra.
Yeah.
But I also like young people who are doing things, who are optimistic. They remind me of me when I thought I could do absolutely any and everything.
Yeah.
It goes sometimes with age. I just met a young guy recently, Sia Kluza. I don't know if you remember him. He did something innovation around jet fuel. Then was given a scholarship to go to Harvard as an AI and doing amazing innovative things that change dynamics in South Africa. But most importantly, understands that he's come back to add value. So yeah, people like that, people who still have hope to change the world.
Yeah,
I like that.
and see opportunities where
Others
many
see
people,
problems.
yeah,
I must say that's my pet peeve is people constantly see problems when there are actually more opportunities than
and you
problems.
get these WhatsApps and like doom and gloom.
Exactly.
I just delete. I kind of like, if you can't think of something positive, just delete. What book would you recommend to our audience and why?
Sure. You know, one of the books, it's an old book though. So it's called the Celestine Prophecy. Yeah. It's an old book, it's a spiritual book. I read it, I think, over 10 years ago, but it had such an impact in my life. And one of the key things, yes, it's spiritual. It talks about things like synchronicity, finding yourself. But the one thing that it taught me about is identifying energy thieves. And the many ways you give away your energy and therefore your power. And that was a powerful
light bulb moment.
Light bulb moment for me. And we do it so often. Sometimes we're in a room, we think, oh my gosh, these people are better than us. Already when you say that, you're giving away your power.
I don't know what that means, actually.
Yeah.
That like any human is better than you. I'm like, what does that mean?
But we do play those games, and then we fit into a structure where there's a hierarchy and you're at the bottom or you're feeding someone, but this person at the top has taken your energy in order to feel powerful. You're giving them your power. So identifying energy thieves, and I very promptly remove my.
Oh, do you do the annual audit? Delete of contacts?
No, but sometimes sometimes it's not that people are bad. It's just you need to identify your tribe.
Yeah.
You need to identify your tribe. If I can't show up and be myself and be acceptable as who I am, and I've been in circles where that has happened, then I'm in the wrong circle. It doesn't make the other people bad. It just means
it's different. I must say, there's a common friend, and I think you also experience them differently. For the first time, I realized they shared their history.
Oh, wow.
Everything made sense.
Oh, wow.
So sometimes, that's why I never label people bad or good.
Yeah.
It's just whatever they're going through, everything makes sense.
Okay.
The minute a person tells you their journey, you're like, that explains you.
And that's, you've said something really, really powerful. One of the things is we are not having authentic conversation, because when we do, we understand each other better,
Because you're on the surface and then people judge and, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can chat forever.
Yeah.
But we need to come to a close. To end our conversation, what's the final wisdom you'd like to share with our audience?
You only have one life to live, It's not a race. You owe it to yourself to understand what it is that makes you happy. I think it's enriching to understand how you can add value to society as well. It's a journey. You may not always do it elegantly, but keep being committed to that journey for yourself and showing up as who you are, because God never made a mistake with any one of us.
Yeah. And why would you want to be anybody else?
There are so many people who want to be somebody else, so many. And then there's the pressures of today. Oh, this one has a beautiful car. It's nice. I mean, these things are inspiring.
Yeah.
But, that's maybe not where you are at that point. It doesn't mean you are less. It just isn't where you are at that point.
I always said never envy anybody's life.
Yeah,
So
you don't know, hey?
Yeah,
You
no.
don't.
So a friend of mine, literally. So she, because I was in Cape Town doing a leadership development program with CEOs from Uganda. So she's watching because obviously I was in beautiful settings at some point.
Yeah.
So she's like, "Oh, I was just thinking of having us." I was like, "You should ask me first." The settings may have been beautiful. Some of the experiences I
But
was
not
having was
so.
like,
Yeah.
because Robben Island had fog,
Oh my
the
goodness.
ferry, and it
Yeah.
disrupted. So it's like, yeah, in perspective.
Yeah.
So you are right.
Yeah.
Like, just really treasure who you are and what your journey is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It is said that leopards symbolize power, strength, confidence, stealth, perception, bravery, survival, shapeshifting, authenticity, and self-reliance. An animal spirit that captures the many qualities of Mabatho. Hope you have had an enlightened wisdom shared by my friend in this episode of Wisdom Personified Conversations with Dudu Msomi. To help grow this channel and spread wisdom and the joy of living to more people, subscribe, like, and share. Thank you for making time for this episode of Wisdom Personified Conversations with Dudu Msomi. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Click on the bell notification to be informed when our next episode is available. Wisdom Personified Conversations with Dudu Msomi is also now available on Facebook Watch, Apple and Google Podcasts, as well as Spotify. Enjoy the wisdom journey.